So it's just one big, it's just one, we live in this, basically we live in a society of corporations and institutions. So, you know, if you look at it from, you know, regular business, and if you have a corporation, who are the, so you have to ask the question, who are the owners? Who are the stakeholders, you know, and what is the product? But I just wanted to touch on that. For the ones who don't know me, my name is Chase Morris. Today I will be giving a presentation on propaganda in the media, specifically the television. With a focus on Fox News. What we almost understand is that when you watch the TV, you're not watching real news. It goes to what is called a filtered system, where basically you have reporters which are being told what to report and what not to report. Period. You know what I'm saying? This is with the major, you know what I'm saying, media corporations, which you see in front of you right now. Fox News being the worst. I'm gonna kind of chop them up today a little bit. CNN, and then, you know, I don't know if you guys are into symbolism, but we have the All-Seeing Eye, which is CBS. A famous rapper by the name of Jay-Z said, "I keep one eye open like CBS," which is the All-Seeing Eye. You guys are familiar with, you know, symbolism and whatnot. So we're gonna do a little touching on a few things. I hope this cord is long enough because I'm operating from the computer right here. The danger of propaganda within the media. Oh, thank you. Okay, the outline for the presentation today is just, first of all, asking, you know, what are the principles of propaganda, or of journalism, I'm sorry. What's propaganda? A brief history of propaganda, and propaganda techniques, and finally, Fox News. Okay, principles of journalism. According to the Committee of Concerned Journalists and the Pew Research Center Project for Excellence in Journalism, states the following, that journalism consists of 9 principles, which is truth, loyal to citizens, verification of information, independence from those they cover, the reports that they present to the public, monitor of power, which is a big one as far as I'm concerned, offer public criticism and compromise, interesting and relevant, proportional or balanced, have the ability to voice a variety of opinion, which is also key. So when you have a lack of variety of opinion, you know, you're not getting true journalism. So we continue. Since propaganda is used through the different forms of media, we must ask ourselves, what is the true use of the media? Media/journalism is supposed to be a tool that delivers accurate, reliable, verifiable, and factual information of events, provide information without biasness, objectivity, and subjectivity. Also act as a watchdog over individual of power and remain in the public interest at all times. So let's go into what is propaganda. I have a few definitions so you guys can get a thorough idea of what is propaganda. Propaganda is neutrally defined as a systematic form of purposeful persuasion that attempts to influence the emotions, attitudes, opinions, and actions of a specific audience for ideological, political, or commercial purposes through the controlled transmission of one-sided messages via mass or direct media channels. Second definition, propaganda. Propaganda is material that has been deliberately designed to express a particular rhetorical vision that one person or group wants another person or group to adopt. Propaganda is thus ideologically driven. Okay, so what is ideology? Ideology is a term that refers to a pattern or set of ideas, values, assumptions, and beliefs that shapes society, culture, or a group that is made to seem natural or objectively factual. So, the history of propaganda. The history and origin of propaganda can be seen back to the time of the ancients, from the Assyrian Empire to the Roman Catholic Church. And I don't know your thoughts on religion, but the Catholic Church isn't the only religious institution that used various propaganda techniques. The early Roman Empire, and it was utilized mainly during times of conquest and war to promote the wealth and strength of kings and queens. Propaganda can also be seen in American history, as well as in other countries, mainly during times of war, specifically starting in this country during World War I. And also another note as far as the history, really subliminal messaging and propaganda and just the art of persuasion really took high during World War II when Hitler hopped on the scene because, Hitler and the whole idea of communism hopped on the scene because they were promoting this image of communism being the best thing, and we're better than everybody else. And you really had here in America, this is when psychology also rose, because we were asking the psychologists, okay, well, can subliminal messages really affect our attitudes and our beliefs? And that's another lecture. So, propaganda techniques. The first one is assertion. And assertion is really used in advertising and modern propaganda. It's an anesthetic or an energetic statement presented as a fact, although it may not necessarily be true. They often imply the statement requires no explanation or backup, but that it should be merely accepted without question. I'm sure this is one we all are familiar with, the bandwagon. You just hopping on the bandwagon. You're a Celtics fan, but you're from Chicago, and you just like the Celtics because everybody else likes the Celtics. They call it. But exactly. So there you go. So this is something we see, naturally now on a daily basis. So what is the bandwagon? Bandwagon is one of the most common techniques in both wartime and peacetime. It plays an important part in modern advertising. It is also one of the 7 main propaganda techniques identified by the Institute for Propaganda Analysis in 1938. Please feel free to jot this down and continue to further research by all means necessary. The bandwagon is appeal to subject to follow the crowd, to join in because others are doing so as well. Basically following others and not being an individual or leader. Bandwagon propaganda is essentially trying to convince the subject that one side is the winning side because more people have joined it. The subject is meant to believe that since so many people have joined, that victory is inevitable and defeat is impossible. And at the bottom, you can see my source also. Next, please. Name calling often occurs in politics and wartime scenarios. I mean, this recently we just had a political election where basically, two politicians basically just point the finger at each other. Oh, well, so-and-so did this, or well, he did this during, election time or whatnot. So, and this was also one of the 7 main techniques designated by the Institute for Propaganda, which is a very good source for studying propaganda, the journalism, and the media. It is used for derogatory language or words that carry a negative connotation when describing an enemy. The propaganda attempts to arouse prejudice among the public by labeling the target something that the public dislikes. Often name-calling is employed using sarcasm and ridicule and shows up often in what political cartoons or writings. Stereotyping and pinpointing. It's all about presenting one specific group or person, once again, as the enemy, mostly seen during times of war. Although there are many other factors involved, the subject is urged to simply view the situation in terms of a clear-cut right and wrong situation. When coming in contact with this technique, the subject or anybody should attempt to consider all factors tied into the situation. So just because, a certain specific group or person is labeled this in the eyes of the media, you should always do your own research. I would suggest, honestly, in watching the news, research everything you hear. Really do. Glittering generalities, often in politics and political propaganda, once again, are basically words that have different positive meaning for individual subjects, but are linked to highly valued concepts. When these words are used, they demand approval without thinking, simply because such an important concept is involved. For example, when a person is asked to do something in defense of democracy, how are you going to say no to that? Especially if you come from a real patriotic family, they tell you, oh, well, do this in respect to your country, or respect to your brotherhood, or respect to your school, or to your family. You're not going to disagree with that. That has more of a psychological effect on you. The concept of democracy has a positive connotation to them because it is linked to a concept that is highly valued, especially in this country. Words often used as a glittering generalities are honor, glory, love of country, and especially in the United States, freedom. But the question is, are we really free? When coming across with glittering generalities, we should especially consider the merits of the idea itself when separated from specific words. Next, please. All right. So now let's get into some real knowledge.